He's a perfume critic famous for his in-depth knowledge of fragrance history, a man whose opinion can make or break a new fragrance. He's articulate yet controversial, and somebody who is well known to any serious fragrance connoisseur. These are just some of the things that have been said about me recently, but today we're going to be having a look at the favourite fragrances of another perfume critic, Luca Turin. Hello everyone, welcome back. So, joking aside, of course, Luca Turin, one of the big names in fragrance writing around the world, and along with his wife, who's also a fragrance expert and writer, Tanya Sanchez, there are two great books that they've written. Perfumes, the A to Z Guide from 2008, I think, and then the follow-up book on things that came out since that one, mainly Perfumes, the Guide 2018 edition, which is all new. It doesn't deal, I don't think, with the same ones that are in the first one. So I decided to do another video on this topic. I've done one before on some of his favourites. Today there's so many good ones to talk about that I thought I'd do a follow-up video. I'll put the link to the old one in the description. So these are all 5-star fragrances except one honourable mention at the beginning, so he considers them, I think all of these reviews are by Luca Turin, not his wife, 5-star fragrances, a perfect 5 out of 5, and mostly I kind of agree, but not always with everything that he says. He's quite rude about some modern fragrances, so beware. This list tends to lead a little bit more, he tends to like retro stuff a bit more than some of the more playful, juvenile, crowd-pleasing, clubbing type scents that young guys might enjoy today. But there are some modern ones in here too. So let's get stuck into it. One honourable mention, because he gives it a really good review in his most recent edition of the book, but then only gives it 3 stars, which is very, very strange to me. I won't name the fragrance till I've read the review, but we'll have a clue here. Rassé Fort's skillful composition reminds me of Thierry Vasser's style in Guerlain Masculins. Legible, large type top notes followed by a series of cleverly arranged reveals, all beautifully balanced between freshness and depth against a background of civilized, comfortable complexity. This citrus smoke vetiver is one of the best and shows artisan perfumery and classical elegance can play well together. So says Luca Turin. What's he talking about? He gave it 3 stars after saying such good things. Surely that was at least 4 stars out of 5. Well, he's talking about Bojnikov from Fort & Manley, one which I've recently acquired, a beautiful fragrance with some very pungent woody notes and a nice complex kind of sweetness about it. The notes in this one are lavender, chocolate, vanilla, oud, vetiver, guaiac wood and cedar. It's, I think, described as a woody gourmand. It's more woody than gourmand to me. There is a hint of oud, but it's quite subtle. Maybe a dark chocolatey sweetness in there. And a really, really beautiful combination of woodsiness and lavender. A very modern, niche kind of smell, doesn't smell dated in any way. And one of the many beautiful ones from Fort & Manley, which I was lucky enough to acquire recently. Lovely bottle design there. And he only gave it 3 out of 5, but the review's so good that I wanted to include it. And because I'm excited to have picked it up recently, I put it in. So let's get stuck in to the 5 out of 5 ones. So, no particular order with these. Let's go back a little bit for the first one though. This is Dior Homme. I just have a sample of Dior Homme, but I do have Dior Homme Intense, which he also gave 4 stars to, and said it was very similar to the original Dior Homme, but with a slight intensification of 1 or 2 of the notes. So Dior Homme, of course, the famous iris scent for men, a kind of lipsticky iris-esque note, reminding some guys of their mum's makeup bag, apparently, so kind of a Freudian appeal there about that one. And Luca Turin, about this one, says 5 stars, fruity iris is his little 2-word description, and he says the bottle is strikingly solid, more beautifully made than one would expect. This is the Intense, but it's the same kind of bottle. This is quality stuff. What does he go on to say? Composer Olivier Polge, son of Chanel's Jack, amongst the half-dozen best masculines of recent years. That's what he said back in 2008. An interesting powdery grey iris top note and a dry down like an attenuated version of Chance with more tobacco. Refined, comfortable, and most of all, a textbook example of top-down design. Couldn't agree more. Chance, I think the Chanel fragrance, Chance, and it is indeed a very beautiful fragrance. This is the Intense version where he simply says, It's only 4 stars, perhaps just because it's a sequel. It's essentially the same fragrance as Dior Homme, but intensified by much more of a delicious, sweet baked apple smell. Didn't notice that myself, but Dior Homme and Dior Homme Intense get the seal of approval from Luca Turin. Very innovative releases when they first came out, and intensely beautiful in each case. Of course, the Dior Homme Parfum, also well worth checking out. Moving on then, let's see what else he gives the 5-star rating to. Here's one that I've mentioned a little bit recently on my channel, and this is L'air de Desert Moroccan. I only have a sample of this one, and there's another one that also gets the 5 stars, the follow-up, the sequel, Au Cœur du Desert. So a few years ago, maybe 8 to 10 years ago, I think the original L'air de Desert Moroccan came out from Andy Tower Perfumes. Beautiful exotic fragrance, kind of incense and woods, a little bit of lavender, almost a hint of a barbershop theme, supposed to conjure up the feeling of the air of the Moroccan desert. And now he's given us another one, a follow-up called Au Cœur du Desert, which I just have a sample of, which of course means the heart, I think, the heart of the desert. So let's see what Mr. Turin says about Au Cœur du Desert. Again, it's a 5-star fragrance for him. Here's why. I can't read it all, it's a bit long, but he says, smelling Au Cœur du Desert reminded me of seeing an old friend of mine return from 2 years in French Polynesia, where well, let's not go into the rest of what happened. Now then, he then says, the new one jettisons the amber, which tethered it to hippie orientals, retains the sublime abstract woods and spices accord of the original, and is now even more compelling and radiant, while drier and dustier. A marvel. Yes, it is very similar to the original, and it is probably more dry. The original wasn't very sweet, but this one even more dry and arid and desert-like, and a touch stronger just overall in the performance and strength of the fragrance. So definitely agree with Luca Turin that one's probably worthy of a 5-star rating. Moving on then, let's see what we have next. I'm going to double up here because this one was in my last video. A lot of the ones in that were just 4-star fragrances, but this one is the full 5, so I'll reiterate what a good fragrance it is because we don't see it very much on YouTube. And this is New York Intense from Nicolai. So first released in 1989 as New York. They then released New York Intense in 2014 to kind of fix the problems with the old New York that kind of got reformulated and weakened by regulations. This one really, in the opinion of Luca Turin, restores the fragrance to its former glory, often compared to Bois de Portugal by Creed. Some of the notes in this one, in fact, I will tell you them all. We have listed on the little card from Nicolai that comes with the fragrance: petitgrain, bergamot, lemon, thyme, artemisia, black pepper, clove, cinnamon, lavender, chamomile, oak moss, vanilla, styrax, incense, musk, civet, and castoreum. It's a beautiful, powdery, masculine fragrance with some lovely citrus in the opening. Let's see what Luca Turin says, because it will be much more interesting than what I say about it, no doubt. I can't read it all, but let's get to the crux of the matter. He says that it's roaring back in full glory, the new version, the Intense, with its unique combination of bracing bitter orange, cosseting petit bois, so yeah, kind of a buttery biscuit smell, and dreamy lavender. I doubt very much, he says, that there is at this point a better masculine fragrance out there. The closest marvel might be Guerlain's Monsieur de Monsieur, so he loves it. Monsieur de Monsieur from Guerlain, worth checking out. This one, considering the very reasonable price that you can get a 30ml for, it was about 50 something pounds. Really a beautiful fragrance. 100ml also reasonably priced for niche. Lovely performance and a beautiful masculine, classy, slightly retro, powdery, lavender, woody smell. Spicy as well. Bit of pepper in there. Everything good you could wish for in a classy, mature, masculine fragrance. So that was Nicolai in New York Intense from Nicolai. Moving on then. Again, we've got a little bit more retro stuff for you because we're going to talk now about Habit Rouge from Guerlain. Now, this gets the full 5 stars. It's a really nice combination of citrus, woods, a little bit of rose, and some vanilla, which was kind of really unique when it came out way back, I think, in 1965 or so, in the mid-60s, certainly. So let's see what Luca Turin says about this one and why he deems it worthy of the full 5 stars. He says, one of the most immediately and permanently appealing ideas in all of perfumery. The orange flower and a popanax accord, soft and rasping like stubble on a handsome cheek. Well, maybe not, but I'm trying. The new version of Habit Rouge, which may have undergone some cleanup at the hands of Edouard Flechier, appears sparer, less laden with dandified frippery than previous ones. This emphasises Habit Rouge's most attractive aspect, the surprising but in retrospect self-evident character that is the hallmark of a work of genius. So really high praise. This was what he wrote in 2008, so I guess it's been probably changed a bit since then. Still a beautiful citrus fragrance, lovely soft florals, some rose, woods in the base, and an absolutely classy fragrance. And don't ignore this one and think that it must smell old-fashioned because it came out in the 60s. It's timeless, it's elegant. And it is, as he seems to agree, quite brilliant. So we'll just squeeze in one more, I think, today. So let's have a look at another one that Luca Turin gives the full 5-star rating for. This one is a bit more controversial, actually. So I'm going to be not quite sure if I can recommend this to all my viewers, but try it if you dare. This is Yataghan from the House of Caron, a 1976 release, which is really a pungent fragrance indeed. I think I've got a bit to sniff here. Yeah. Okay, perfumer, Vincent Marcello. Some of the notes include pine, leather, patchouli, oak moss, musk. It's kind of old-fashioned smelling. If you like things perhaps like Ralph Lauren's Polo Green, this may appeal to you. And I think this one has survived a little bit better reformulations than things like Polo Green from Ralph Lauren. Very complex, very piney and green, kind of forest-like, but the dark brown liquid gives a clue that there's a little bit more dark woodsiness, a leathery element to this one, a really long list of ingredients as you often get with those 60s and particularly 70s powerhouse fragrances, and even in this very inexpensive modern formulation that you can get for really low prices online. Yataghan from Caron, really interesting and fascinating. I haven't worn it much yet, but I do agree that there's something worth discovering here, worth investigating if you're a fan of old school fragrances. Yataghan from Caron, one of the more interesting ones that you can still acquire cheaply, which doesn't seem to have been completely ruined by reformulation, although I haven't tried the original version. That got a full 5 stars in his original book, so I'll just briefly tell you what he says about it. So, a woody oriental, he describes it as. It's certainly woody. It's not very sweet as orientals go, but that's the designation he's giving to it. So we have. Sometimes he doesn't describe the notes that much. He gives more of. He just says whatever he feels it conjures to mind for him, which doesn't always tell you how they smell, but it's always really interesting and well written and engaging. So Yataghan goes for a uniquely strange, high-pitched hissing tone with odd, borderline, sweaty, sour notes. Doesn't sound great, does it? Of caraway and sage up top, and a dry, inky wood structure below. Rush to buy it before they screw it up. Don't know if you'd think the modern version has been screwed up, because that was 10 years ago what he said. It's probably not quite the same as it was even then now. Let me know what you thought of those ones that I've singled out that Mr. Turin gives 5 stars out of 5. I wouldn't disagree with any of them, although maybe Yataghan I would say a bit hit and miss for most of you out there. So, you know, if you don't mind wasting 15 quid or something and taking a chance, well worth getting, but you may not love it as much as Mr. Turin does. I'm not sure I love it quite that much, but it's certainly interesting. Thanks as ever for watching. Sorry, Mr. Turin, for my video based on your doing disservice to your finely written words, but I thought it would be fun for my viewers. Whatever you're doing in life, people out there, remember, let's project. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.